So my name is Sharon Brubaker. I'm a grief specialist. I'm the owner of the Premier Grief School, where I walk women through the process of grieving. I teach a grieving educational program on grief so that you can find peace while on your healing journey. Today we have some amazing guests, an amazing guest. Both Joy and Jay are going to be talking about creativity in your grief. And this, I love this. I love this topic because I think what we've saw over the last couple of hours is that there's all these different pathways that we can take our grief in, and everyone brings a different aspect to it and a different relationship to that. A year ago, I saw an ad for a speech contest. And I was like, speech contest. Oh, next Saturday, I'm available. So I'm going to go join this speech contest. So we went in there. There was about 400 people in the group. They broke us up into groups of 20. And I was the last one to go in my group. But this young man went in my group. And I was absolutely blown away by his talk. I was so blown away. I came up to him afterwards, and he and I were just talking. We were just casually talking about our stories, what had happened. And I turned around and walked away. And when you hear something is spirit led, I'm telling you, someone tapped me on my shoulder and said, go back. That's honestly what happened, Jeremy. I think I shared that with you. And I turned around and I went back and I said, hey, I didn't even know the name of this yet, Joy. I called it a symposium. I said, I'm going to be doing a symposium. Would you like to speak at that? I think you would be really great. And he was like, yeah, lady. And I took out a piece of fresh paper and wrote my name and phone number on it. And I gave it to him and went away. And so then, like maybe 2 or 3 months later, I contacted him. It was in December of 2022. I interviewed him for my podcast. He probably thought this lady is never coming back, but it was burned into my brain. I never forgot it. I never posted the podcast until this symposium came up. And I held on to it and just knew it was just so special. I had to do something really special. So, my friends, first, let me introduce you to my partner in crime, Joy Renique. She's a life story coach. And then Jay Clarkin, and he's going to talk about how grief has truly changed him. Hey, Jay.
You have the floor.
Wow. She's right. It was definitely an interesting way to meet someone. Honestly, I did not expect her to even hit me up after that. That event was crazy because it was the first time I was actually speaking, right? I never got in front of people, like a stage thing to talk about anything. My kids kind of were like, hey, Dad, did you ever try to think about doing this? Because I was doing streaming for a while and I talked to people virtually, but I never did that. But it was amazing. And so back to this thing about grief. Grief really changed my life in many ways because I got hit with different stages and different types of grief instantly in a way that I never was, one, aware of, and two, no one ever talks about it, right? No one ever gives you the tools you need. No one ever tells you oh, well, this is what you're dealing with. Here's how to approach it. There's no training that was ever really out there till I'd say more recently as people becoming more and more aware of it. And Sharon has this amazing school that you guys have to check out. And she nails it. She drives it home and gives all kinds of examples. The way that I started to approach grief was not a good one, right? I started off drinking. I started off taking prescription pills anyway. That wasn't the way to go about it. But the one thing that really started changing my life was art. As you can see, here's a couple of new pieces that I've just completed. But the funny story about that was I never even considered art. I couldn't draw a stick figure. I was like, art? I'm in the military. I was a Marine. I was infantry machine gunner. I never even considered art as an outlet, or I didn't take it serious. For me, I was an inpatient, and I had a very, very good therapist. And he was like, look, I know all these other ways are not working for you. All these other approaches to psychology are not helping you process, and you're not able to actually work through the stuff. You're I was bottling it up, and I was just putting it on a shelf or boxing it. I guess the best way to describe it, I was boxing it up, putting it on a shelf and forgetting about it. I was never wanting to even think about it or talk about it, deal with it. But what happens is all that feelings, all that grief, all that emotion was still building, but it was bleeding into other parts of my life I had no idea about. So the therapist, he's like, well, you're stuck here for X amount of days. You know, you're going to be here a while. Have you ever thought about art? I looked at him. I was like, Doc, this isn't me. I can't do this. He's like, all right, just trust me here. I was like, look, I don't trust people, and I really don't trust doctors. He's like, all right, but what else do you have to lose? And I was like, you're right. I'm stuck with you anyway. So let's figure this out. So he starts off with mandalas. Honestly, I had no idea what a mandala was. I was like, what does that even mean? And he's like, it's easy. Here's a picture. You just color it in the colors you want. I was like, this kind is like simple. I was like, okay. I mean, now I feel like you're just wasting my time here, but we'll figure it out. So we started like progressing through art that way. Like started off mandalas, moving up, and then I was going through a lot because we were going through the process of dealing with all the people that I lost, whether it be from combat or suicide, whatever it was. So we were going through it, and he's walking through it, and I finally got fed up. I was like, look, Doc, I can't do this. I'm not taking this serious. I don't enjoy this. This isn't making me happy. So I kind of gave up on art at that moment because I was still struggling so hard. And I get out of the inpatient. I decide I wanted to drink again. And that was the hardest thing for me is I gave up drinking before I went inpatient. But I wanted to drink again because things in my life weren't going right. Like, again, me and my family, me and my wife were going through a lot of stuff that we weren't really working through. And I thought I was going to lose everything. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give this art thing one more try. So I would go down to Michael's, pick up like a canvas, some paint. And I was just like, look, their way of doing art wasn't my way of doing art. It wasn't working. I was like, okay, so let's just figure this out. And so I looked at this painting, I looked at this canvas, looked at this material that I just bought. I didn't know what I was doing. I never went to school. But I just was feeling an emotion. And that emotion was worthlessness. I felt like I had no way out. I wasn't going to amount to anything because I just got out of the military. Everything was processed out. All of my purpose was gone. And that worthlessness really hit home. And I started to think about it. And I never really addressed it. I was like, well, why do I feel worthless? When I was in there, I had this I put a playlist together. Like music and art for me, just like they go together. So I made a playlist and I was like, all right, what songs make me think about that emotion that I'm really feeling or the things that are triggering me to feel that worthlessness? And I just had a whole, I'd say 3-hour playlist put together. And I thought about an emotion and I was like, all right, what's 3 colors that stem on that emotion that really speak to me on that emotion? And it was like blue, black, gray, and there was like one, I think I did 4. No, it was blue, black, and gray. I remember now. And I think I ended up mixing them together and like some other weird shade came out. And I was like, all right, technically it's 4. But those 3 colors, and I went in there and I just thought about everything. Before this, mind you, I was never processing any of those emotions. I was never even wanting to address the idea that I felt worthless. But in that moment, I was able to all right, this is it. I'm sitting in this. I'm actually acknowledging the fact that I'm feeling these emotions. And so what I did is I just poured everything in there for 3 hours, just painting, just slinging. Honestly, I didn't even I just threw paint. At one point I was throwing paint onto the canvas. And I just thought it was all right, well, okay. I walked out. I was like, I kind of feel a little different. I never felt that way before. I felt like I actually did something.
Yeah.
Fast forward a week after, I have a group session at the local VA. I just met my new therapist and, me and him are talking and he's like, you're going to be a different case. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, all right, what does that mean? I'm going to be a different case. Am I difficult? And he's like, no, the normal traditional route isn't going to work for you. You've been through X amount of therapists, all the types of psychology I could throw at you all day long. You could probably revert it back to me better than some of the underlings I have. And I was like, you might be right, doc. And he's like, so I want to approach this a little differently. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. He's like, we'll talk. Let's get into the group. So I get in the group, and the guy's like, well, what did you guys do differently this week? And I'm like, I was like, you know what? I got something. I actually started to paint. And the guys are like, wait, what do you mean you started painting? You paint? And I was like, yeah, man. I went in there and I took it serious, and I actually painted. And they were like, let me see it. I was like, well, I don't think I want to show you guys. They were like, at first, because like it was so intimate to me, right? It was like, this is my emotions literally on this canvas. And so I showed them. I was like, but then again, I was like, it's a bunch of military vets in here. These guys don't know like Van Gogh. Like, they know the top guy, but they don't know the like impressionists. They don't know, like, they're not going to be able to judge it and critique it. Lo and behold, little did I know, just making assumptions, one of the guys in there was an art major. He had a PhD from NYU in art. And I was like, what? And he looked at my stuff. He said, let me see it. He looked at it and he was blown away. He was like, brother, God has given you a talent, and you need to keep painting. He's like, you have to. And I was like, okay, dude, thanks. I appreciate it. I thought it was just like blowing smoke, you know? And he's like, no, I'm serious. Your art speaks to me. He's like, I don't know what you named it. He's like, but whatever it is, I know it has some depth and some meaning and some pain behind it. And I was like, absolutely. I was like, that's exactly where it stemmed from. And so from there, we carried my art into my therapy sessions from then. So instead of talking about the actual emotions I was hiding, or like the events that happened that were triggering me, we talked about my art and what was evoked through it and where it was coming from. And so we processed my grief through that way, through art, which was completely different than anything I've seen in the like 10 years of therapy I was going through. So yeah, that's a long way of me saying that's how kind of like art became my process for dealing with grief. And
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And
Absolutely.
And you know what? When I was watching your presentation, like if you guys were captivated like I was just in this talk, wait till you see his presentation. It's so I think what my takeaway from listening to you, because I don't resonate with being an artist as far as canvas and like understanding what the colors mean and understanding what, putting your emotions into a picture. Like when I look at these pictures behind you, the one to the left of you, like that literally looks like something I would hang in my house because of the color scheme and what I like to decorate my house with. But then when I look at the one on the right of you, like those colors do resonate differently. Like I don't even know what to attach a feeling to it, but I do like it makes me curious about what that means. And that's what I enjoy about art when you go to different places. That everybody has a different perception of what really it is. Now you can have an intention of what you think it's supposed to be, but that somebody else is going to look at it way different. They're going to have their own story that they're going to attach to it. And then I love that you talked about even a little bit of your insecurities where you didn't know that what you did was a masterpiece. You just wanted to really take it serious and give it a try, but that you actually realize that you're talented at this and this is something that's going to help you process and heal.
Jeremy, I have a question for you. Thank you, Julia, for your comment. And I'm so excited you get to be at this session as well and get to see struggling with expressing myself, even journaling. This is the perfect session for you right now in your grief. Jeremy, my question to you is about the music. I know for me in grief, like the two songs that took place at the funeral were one of the songs that I would use to grieve. I would go back to those songs, the current song. My dad picked an Elvis Presley song. He loved Elvis Presley. And I would play that song over and over again. And in that playing that song, I was able to process the grief and pain. I could be there and have a moment with him. It hit my heart. It like touched my heart. And I could just cry in my grief corner with that song. Tell us about the music playing a part in you actually doing the art. Do you still tie the music in? Do you blare the music? Does that help with the processing of all of that?
Yes. So there's two ways that I do it. One, if it's an emotion that like I'm really struggling with, where like say it's been like a few weeks or a few days or whatever it is that's really like have an effect on my life as a whole, I put headphones on and then I put the music on as loud as I possibly can, and I just play it. And I like the way that I start is I'll listen to the music first. Like I'll start off, I'll listen to it, and I'll get in that feeling of it, and then I'll just pour it out that way for with that. But if it's something that like, all right, I've experienced before or I've actually went to before, I may put it on a speaker and play it out loud. So that way, like, I don't know if there's a difference to it, but for some reason, when I feel it's something like if it's something I've been approached before, like I've actually dealt with or worked on, I can listen to it openly. But
Ah,
when it's something like new and I feel like I haven't really experienced, I have to sit in it alone, and I have to only me hear it. And I don't know how like I don't know how that relates or how I work
wow,
through it.
that's so deep. That's deep. That's actually really deep. May I ask you a very personal question? Do you cry when you're processing the artwork or in the music? Do tears come? And I'm just asking that for others.
Sometimes I wouldn't say all the time. Um, if it's about someone really close to me, and like I said, if it's newish, I've noticed that when I have my headphones on, I'll have more of a session of where I actually like I'll cry,
Yeah.
and then there and when I cry is different too. Like that's the crazy part. There's some that I'll cry during the work, like while I'm actually doing it and feeling it just pour out, or it happens after when I'm done and I look at it. And I've been trying to figure out, is it because I'm finished with it, or is it because I look at it and I see the whole picture and I
Yeah.
see everything encompassed. So I haven't figured out what it is, but or what causes it to do when it does it. But I just let it out, and when it comes, it
Wow.
comes.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. The same thing can happen when you're journaling, right, Joy? Like you could literally be writing something. Do you ever write when you're doing your writing? Do you ever turn music on? Because I know for me, like the music can sometimes, when I'm doing deep work, can be distraction. When you're journaling, do you ever turn your music on and just journal that way?
So me personally, no. I need the silence. I need to be able to really organize my thoughts. But while I'm listening to Jeremy, it made me realize, out of our senses, vision is like the one that everybody understands. Like we appreciate it. Nobody wants to go blind. Like we really know, how important it is to physically see something and then actually see something beautiful. And so when I'm so word driven, where it's like the words, I need to see the words. I don't want to just think it and figure it out, but I want to see the words. And so I want to add words to your pictures and I want to talk about it. But there's a quote that I listed in my presentation that says, writing is the painting of the voice. And I thought that was so profound because when you write things down, especially intentionally, there's so many different strategies like you shared with art to be able to capture exactly how you feel, what you want to say. But visually, these are both still visual representations that I think is what we have in common when it comes to creative expression. And then, music, that's the hearing part, right? That's our second, first we want our sight, then we want to hear. Of course, we want to taste. We don't think about it till COVID hit and it took some of our ability to taste, right? Nobody paid attention. Nobody knew what that felt like. But that vision and that hearing is what we depend on so much. And so when I didn't only want to talk about writing because like you said, Jay, sometimes people are like, I don't want to write. What am I going to write about? Who's going to read this? Who cares? Like, is it a waste of my time? We all have had those feelings. Like I'm a blogger and I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So I enjoy this. Like I enjoy interviewing and doing the lives, but it takes a lot out of me. I can't do it all day. It's just very heavy for me. I'd rather just write something and share it with the world and comment and be in the background and do all of those things. And so one thing that has resonated with me recently is my cousin wrote a status and he said he took for granted when the teacher used to have you do those projects where you have to go in front of the class and present the project. Like public speaking is something that should have been, that's where you start. That's where you start practicing, that is in the classroom when you do those projects. And you do the same with writing. You have these essays. How many times we wrote essays and we have these standardized tests that require us to write, and we don't really know why they're making us do this so much. But then as you get older and you start realizing, for your own healing, for your own self-expression, for your own ability to understand yourself and others, for me to be able to know, I love, Jay, how you said you tried all of these different things and they said to you, we're going to have to do something different because all that other stuff really wasn't working. That is what I think writing helps you to discover. It helps you to understand that a lot of things might not work, but once you figure out what your voice is and how you want to express yourself, whether it's through words or through canvas or through other art forms, making sure spoken word, because that's not written. Some people just, they can just freestyle and just talk. And this, I'm looking like, how did you rhyme and come up with these things in the drop of a hat? That is creative expression that heals us. It really allows people to see us on a soul level. And I think that if people appreciated it more, actually going like, I can't remember the last time I went to a museum, but you would be surprised if you just try it out. You might think you're not interested, and you go in there and you see how abstract and how so many different textures and things that people can incorporate into their artistry, and how that could be a blessing.
Before you go, Joy, I want to ask you a question. Is it ever emotional when you're doing the writing? Are you able to release the tears for yourself? Do you ever go there? That's number one. And I have a second question. When something happens to you, right, in your life that is emotional, is your first response to grab a pen?
Okay.
I just want to know about that personally.
So the first part with the tears. So here's an example, and I don't want to start with sad. I want to just use this example. When my husband proposed to me, and I was choosing bridesmaids. Some people, they already know who their bridesmaids is going to be. It's like, oh, that's a given. They plan out their wedding since they were 10 years old. Well, what I decided to do was write a letter to my bridesmaids. And when I wrote the letters, it was one of my friends who we actually are not friends anymore because I didn't choose her. I'm sure that's not the real reason why, but that was what created the rift between us. I didn't choose her to be a bridesmaid. She never confronted me directly to say, hey, my feelings are hurt. What's going on? She just didn't show up for my wedding and kind of ghosted me and like let me know she was mad. And then I was telling her, I'm supposed to be celebrating the fact that I'm getting married. This is not the time for. She literally texted me the day before my wedding to tell me finally that she was mad about this. And but what had happened was when I was trying to write her letter, the feeling wasn't there. It's not that I didn't appreciate her, that I didn't enjoy her, that I don't even miss her, that we're not friends. Like those things are true. But when I decided to write those letters to my bridesmaids, these were people who changed me as a person. So I chose one of my friends from college. I remember I used to be so vain, and I used to just cripple up if I didn't look how I wanted to look. And I told her, could you flat iron my hair? And she handed me the flat iron. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know how to use this. And she was like, you better figure it out because I'm not doing it for you. And like, she empowered me to not always depend on other people to do stuff for me when I could do it for myself. That is what I was able to write about her in my letter. I talked about my other best friend from high school, where I felt like we had a soul connection, where I felt like if I had been born into her life and had the same experiences that she had, I would be exactly how she is. The only reason we were different is because we had different life experiences, but our soul, our spirit, the way that we think and feel, we are the same. I also chose someone else who was wild. Like I was a square. I was very stuck up, uptight. I didn't color outside of the lines at all growing up. And she was the one who like got me out of my shell. Like I would be out late, and our parents trusted each other because we still had an innocence to us. We weren't sexually active in high school, so we literally, it was good, honest fun. Even though it was risky and we were speeding and we were doing things and stand in front of this boy's house till the daylight hours and say, I'm gonna say I'm at your house and you're gonna say you was at my house. Like we had those moments where I would have never done that. So those were the letters that I wrote. And that's what made me say, these are supposed to be my bridesmaids. So when we talk about grief, as I've been doing the grief work, I wanted to blog about my relationships. So to answer your second question, I don't necessarily, as soon as it happens, right? Sometimes I have to wait and I have to let it sit. And I've tried to write something about my granddad, and I literally started it and I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
Like I could not even, and the tears was coming, right? That I was like, oh my God. And that helped me realize how much work I still need to do to process his death. Where I was able to write about my sister. I was able to write about my dad. A lot of times I write on the other side of the healing where I have that epiphany moment. And look, yay, we surprised you guys with a giveaway. All right. And I'm glad you interrupted me because I was actually at the end. But Brittany, who are we going to do our giveaway to? Put their name on the screen, please. Or their comments. All right, Lori.
Lori, you win a gift. Oh, are you gonna what is the gift today?
Yeah, it's gonna be an Amazon gift card.
Yep.
Nice.
Lori, I'm writing your name down. I want to thank you so much, Joy. I want to go to the screen to sit in the audience with Jay because there's some questions that are actually directed to him. So I want to bring the audience in here.
Yes, Lori's like me with a question mark.
Yeah, girl, it's you.
Because you asked, how do I get started? Depending on if that was directly towards me or to Jay, you can choose between having a gift card, or I can send you a Celebrate Legacy journal, which actually has prompts that can help you get started with writing, and it's specifically for legacy building. So just let us know, respond to one of our emails with your address, so that we can mail it to you if you want the journal. Otherwise, we'll send you the Amazon gift card. It's totally up to you.
So Brittany, right in here, bring Jay up, and it says, do you name and label your pieces? Is one of the questions that they want to know. Bring Jay up.
Yes. So it's funny you asked that because that's one of the things I was thinking of when Joy was talking. Wordsmithing is so hard, especially when it comes to that emotion, right? And when it comes to name, like honestly, I've had commissioned pieces that I had to like extend the deadline because I couldn't find the right name for it. And so yes, I do name and label all my pieces, and it takes a long while for me to sit down because once again, I'm readdressing the emotion that I poured into that. And I'm readdressing the scenarios that happened that triggered me to think this and deal with it. So if it doesn't fit, I'm like, that's not done. It's not a finished piece. Like this one right here, I don't have a name for it yet. It's not finished. This one, I have a name for it. I don't know if you can see it.
What's the name?
That one's called Caged.
Wow. And that changes like how I look at it now. That's crazy.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. That is so cool. Okay, so Sherry Young, Brittany, if you can bring up Sherry Young. The military strips you of your emotions, but they never try to help you when you get out. I come from a military family. What's your take on Sherry's comment?
That's a difficult one, right? So I wouldn't say it doesn't strip you of your emotions. It allows you to separate yourself from them, right? So you're able to put it in a box and just kind of like compartmentalize. You're like, all right, I may feel this, but guess what? I'm gonna put it in this box and deal with it at a different time and date. They don't necessarily show you how to deal with it, right? So going back and the way that I always described it is opening up Pandora's box, right? So when I put it up there, it wasn't just sitting there like I was hoping. No, it was growing. So by the time it may have been like one little thing that triggered me and I put it in this little box, I thought it was good. But by the time I get back to it and open it up, it just blows in my face. And it's just like all these different things are tied into it now. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles is the military doesn't have a way to deal with that, because it's life or death in certain situations, right? You have a moment where you have to decide, like, I cannot allow the hurt of watching one of my brothers die and basically prevent me from saving my other brothers. And so that was, I say brothers because I was an infantry unit in the Marine Corps and it was just guys. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to make that distinction. But what I mean is they try to figure out how to deal with that later on when you get back, and by then it's a little too late.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I don't know. It's a hard topic that needs a lot of attention and a new approach to it for sure.
So glad you're here. Kim also says, just under that, Brittany, Kim also says, the right person shows up when you least suspect it. And she put that comment up when you were talking about your therapist, when he said, we're going to take you around, you're going to go a different way. And so she shares that. I have my question for you. Do you work with other service members, men and women? And my next question is, do you find that the men that are actually grieving have a struggle with coming in when you tell them you're going to do art? Do they think it's like, let's draw daisies, or just a take on that?
Yes, I've actually worked with 5 other veterans and first responders right now. I'm working on a situation where I could do more than that.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had one buddy of mine that was like, dude, I'm not going in here and doing mandalas. I'm not going in here and drawing a pineapple. And I was like, no, dude, that's not what this is about. I was like, trust me. I was like, you trust me before, right? Trust me with this. He's like, I promise you it's not going to be an easy work, and you're going to have to do a lot after this, because this is going to make you aware of some things that you didn't even know were affecting you. And he's like, all right, dude. So I sit him down. I'm like, all right, we're talking. We're sitting there looking at each other. I was like, look, man, what's something that is really bothering you? And for him, it was depression. And so I was like, all right, dude, cool. Like, I get it. Depression. It's crushing you. It's keeping you in your bed and you don't want to move, right? But what is causing that? I need you to think of one, like, instance that is causing you to feel that way. And I was like, I want you to embrace it. And then I go into him like, now make a playlist. Songs that evoke you to feel that emotion and make you sit in that. And I was like, just think about you being in your car and you're sitting there and you're driving on this long road by yourself and you need something to listen to. And that's the emotion you're trying to get to. I was like, play that playlist right now. And so he sits there for a good, like, 10 minutes putting it together. And then he's like, all right, I'm ready. I was like, now pick 3 colors. And I hand him over the canvas. I was like, now do whatever you want with it. I was like, bro, you can kick your foot right through the canvas. If that makes you feel better, do it. And he's like, nah, I don't want to break it yet. I was like, well, all right, well, paint first. And if you decide you want to break it after, by all means, it's whatever. It's you addressing what you're feeling. And he's like, all right, cool, let's do this. So he goes in there, and honestly, he's like, man, I'm not trying to be in here for more than 30 minutes. I was like, all right, cool. That's plenty of time. Do what you need to do. And before you know it, an hour goes by. And I'm watching him. And I'm just sitting there watching him do it. And I was like, hey, you good? You want something? I get him some water. And then all of a sudden, he's like a tear just like goes right down his cheek. And I was like, all right, bro, are you good? Do you want to stop? You want to take a break? He's like, no, I'm in it. I got to keep going. I was like, all right, good. Let's get out this valley. So he keeps going and he starts painting. He keeps going. 3 hours go by and he finishes. And he's like, dude, wow, 3 hours.
Wow.
And he looked at it and he was like, man, I don't know what to do with it. I was like, that's up to you, man. If you want to go out back, I have a fire pit. We could throw it in there and you could just get rid of it. And now it's out of your chest, it's out of your mind, it's on something. But I want you to look at this and realize you created something beautiful out of something that was hurting you and deteriorating your life. And he just looked at me and he was like, bro, thank you. I was like, I'm just glad I could share a moment.
That is so cool. So, okay, now I have a question for both of you.
Wait. Before you go, I wanted to say, so you know how they have those painting with a twist events that are like becoming
yeah with the wine.
Yeah, and I see people with the canvases. Some people's look really, really good, and some people's look really, really terrible. And like, I've never gone to one because I'm like, I'm not an artist. Like, this is gonna frustrate me. Like the same things that you think, like, this is gonna get on my nerves, and mine's gonna look just retarded, and I just don't want to deal with it. Like, I love how you process through where it makes you want to give it a try. Like, it makes you really understand that it doesn't have to be what you think it is. You will be surprised at how something else might, come of it.
So my question for both of you, we'll start with you, Joy, and then the same question for you, Jay. Joy, both of you guys are showing an outward activity, an action step to deal with pain, with joy, with grief. How is that? How is what you're doing, the journaling and the artwork, helping your children? Like, how do they see you? And do you use your journaling? Are you teaching them journaling? Are you teaching your children art? Like, because man, what you guys are doing, like you're teaching your kids a different way. How is your craft or your creativity helping in your children?
So to answer, I I'm I run a parenting group and I do a lot of parenting things, intentional things to kind of, it's called perfect parenting because nobody's perfect, but we
Yeah.
can always strive to perfect it, to make it better. And so one thing I heard is that we're watching your kids looking at you read, just at the chair reading. It builds a memory in their head that makes them think they should be doing that. Because when they're young, they're trying to be like you. They see you doing things. I do celebrate legacy. My daughter's like, I want to help you with your business, and I want to. She's always trying to copy me in those ways. So I think two things: just actual seeing somebody doing something. You don't have to say anything. I don't have to tell them what I'm reading. I don't have to, sit there and make them read with me. Just the act of watching me do something is enough to be a role model. So when they write, I want them to be intentional. Like, I'm helping them with their homework and I'm trying not to be so strict, like, you need to write perfectly and it needs to be, I let them know it needs to be legible. But then I also give them advice on why they should put pride in their handwriting skills, why they should look over what they read. And I'm like, read this. Does this make sense to you? If it don't
Mm.
make sense to you, how am I supposed to understand? Or it only makes sense to you because you have a little bit more information than I have. So you're only writing a little part of it. But for somebody like me who didn't read the story, who didn't do the homework assignment or was in your class, you need to be able to tell it fully, express yourself wholly. And then I had a comment here from Kim. She says, I journaled. I cannot bring myself to read what I wrote 2 years ago. That pain is still too raw. I like to share my writing and I encourage people to share certain things when it comes to legacy building, sharing what you want to share. The Celebrate Legacy Journal, it has this binder setting so that you get to pick and choose what is included here. You could take out and throw away what you don't want. You can store certain pages private if it's just something that you want to keep. But what I will say is that if it's something really meaningful, even if you don't want to read it, 2 years is not a long time. Finding a way, even electronically, sometimes I write an email to myself, and years later I'll read it, and you'll be surprised at how certain things age well.
Yeah.
You'll read it years later, and you still either feel exactly the same way, or you get a glimpse of how you used to feel and how much you've grown from that moment. You thought at that moment it was the end, it was the last thing, and then you look back and say, "Wow, I was stressed out about that. Now I got this to be stressed out about."
Do you think you're grooming 4 little journalers? Do you think they'll all be journalers because of that? And I'm not pointing finger, but I'm just wondering if, like, do you ever tell them if they're upset, "Hey, go write about that feeling." Do you use it that way?
No, it's not so. Some people, like, who they are is who they are, and
Yeah.
they only know how to project that onto the people because that's what works for them.
Yeah.
And not to say it's wrong with being like that, because sometimes I know Chris Adele, he talks about how we pass skills over from generation to generation.
Yeah.
That it's important to be able to use what you know to be true to teach your family, your kids, and the people around you. But I like to operate out of figuring out what is their strength, and
Yeah.
you still can kind of incorporate certain things in there without making it exactly that. Like, the journaling doesn't have to be the traditional thing. For example, how I make my kids practice writing is I make them write the grocery list when we're going to the store. They want to be a part, they love going, so it's like, okay, what do we need? I need you to write it down. And they are the ones in charge of the grocery list. I could easily write my own
Right.
grocery list,
Oh,
but
yeah.
those little ways where they don't even realize that I'm getting them into the habit of writing things down and organizing their thoughts and doing all those things, I do it in a more subliminal way. than
I love that.
directly.
I really love that. Jay, okay. So what about your art and how does it transcend into your children? Do they see it? Are they baby little artists? And are you teaching them in any way how to use the art?
So that's uh, that was a crazy journey in itself. At first, when I was doing my art, I didn't have anyone around me. I couldn't have them around me because like I couldn't shut it off. Like I couldn't put the face back on for them to see me as dad, the stoic, has it all together guy. Meanwhile, I'm breaking down, writing, like painting this thing and processing, right? But eventually, it got to the point where that was the only thing. If they heard the music coming, they're running to the garage. They're like, it's art and crafts time. Daddy's painting. Let's go paint. And so I like what you said, Joy. We don't push it onto them. That I think that's because each one of them has a different personality, right? And I've noticed that with my three girls, each one had a different personality. My oldest, she didn't really care for painting, but she'd do it with her sisters and be with us all together. I feel like it was a hard way to see her emotions, right? My oldest was deals with a lot of stuff too. She had brain cancer. She went through a lot of stuff that traumatized her, but she does art in her own way. She loves painting nails. So when we go into the garage and paint, she'll have her nail thing together and she'll do that like the little manicure nails, and she'll go ham in there just painting her own little design on there and makes whole sets for her friends, for family members. That's her creative way of dealing and processing. So yes and no. Like each one has their own way of doing it, and that's kind of funny. Let me see. 1 second. I actually have one of the pieces of what they were doing.
Oh,
so this is my 10-year-old, and this was my 5-year-old. She did this when she was like 4, like last year. And so they'll come into the garage and they'll paint with me while I'm painting, and they'll see how I change. Because before I go in there, I'll feel tension. I'll feel like something's really bothering me. And then I'll snip it at something and I'm like, wait a minute, what really caused me to act like that?
Yeah.
Like there's something that's bothering me. And then I'll like, I need to process it. And I'll go to the garage and then be like, all right, let's go. Let's paint in here. And then all of a sudden, like everyone's in it. They're painting how they're feeling. They're excited. And then when they get bored, they'll just get up and just walk out. And that's it. They just leave it there. And I was like, all right, you're done with your session. Now I'm going to continue mine.
That is so cool because one of the things that I often say about grief is that my parents didn't show me how to grieve. We didn't talk about it. Like you're literally showing them an expression of processing the emotions. Both of you guys are like how to get out here. Even that grocery list, believe it or not, even the grocery list can play a part in that. I have another question for you, Jeremy. Do you think that as a man, I want to ask you this as a man, in processing grief and processing pain, so many of the society, we tell men, stop that crying. You have to be strong. We force them to be strong. I mean, we send our babies to be in the Marines, right? To protect our country at a very young age. They're young. They're young at 18. And then a lot of times men come upon grieving experiences and they don't want to come to the program because they think they're going to be in there crying all the time. I understand from you that sometimes you're doing your art and tears aren't coming. It's just emotion is coming out. What advice do you give the men that are holding back and thus have so much to share that they need to get out? What would you say to them?
To fight the norm. The norm gives you like, suck it up mentality, right? That everyone tells you like, oh, be a man, suck it up. It's not that bad. Yeah, it ain't. But guess what? That festers into the other parts of your life. So you're wondering why this is falling apart, or why your relationship isn't going well, or you just can't deal with certain situations. You have outbursts. That's because you're not dealing with it. You're not addressing the grief. You're not addressing the issues. There's other ways. There's so many different ways to process things. Everyone has their own way of dealing with things. But it takes a stronger man to address it and grow from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Joy, question for you. Do a lot of men journal?
As soon as you said the word men, the first thing I thought about was my granddad. And the craziest thing is that he had the most beautiful handwriting. Oh my goodness, his handwriting was just, I don't know how long it took for him to perfect that or practice it or why it was so important to him. He had his favorite type of pen. Like if I go to the store, I know exactly what kind of pen that he would always use. And I don't even know what he used to write about. I don't think you, because people hear the word journal and they think like diary, or they think they don't understand that writing in general, no matter what you're doing it for, it could be for memory keeping, it could be for organization, it could be grocery lists. Like writing in general is a healing action. And so when it comes to men who write, some people, they either were raised that way. Because I remember when I the last time I brought this up, his sister, my aunt, she was like, you know what, our parents really made sure that we had good writing. We all three of us have this good, and I never knew that because I would have never brought that up until she heard me talk about it in this effect. But before I forget, if you're watching this and you're grieving someone, or you know that someone in your life has really good writing, or make sure you, because I don't have nothing with his handwriting on it, except I have one thing. My king say when I turned 15, we have this little sign-in book at the front door. And you know, some people, your I lived with him. He might not have thought to write in there, but he liked to write. So he was going to write in that book. And I have his writing only in there. I don't have his writing anywhere else except in my little keepsake signature book. So instead of us missing it now that he's gone, not realizing that is something that was a part of who he was and important to him, the people around you, making sure that you keep those little things, find ways to organically have that come up. Even if the next time you have a party, you have everybody just sign, a little message on a card to commemorate. Like, people think cards are just for like congratulations, happy birthday, but we can have a card just because we got a lot of people over for dinner and say, hey y'all, just write a little thing in the card, like how we do with the yearbooks. Have
Yeah.
people pull out their yearbooks.
Yeah.
They look at. I usually do it after someone passes away, and it's like, oh my god, let me go find the yearbook, and I see that they wrote me this note, some crazy childish slang. It might have an acronym that I don't even know what it means anymore. Like those things, we wait until after someone passes away to capture that, when we should be doing that right now.
I love that advice. That is absolutely great. I really do love that. Go ahead and read
I
the
kept
book.
my grandfather's letter that he wrote with me. He wrote to me when I first moved to the U.S. Is the only physical memory I have with him.
It's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Like, you guys, you just don't know the value of, and look how, like, it was a letter. It didn't cost him a million. Like, we keep things, and we have all of these things that we keep and we hold on to, but those are simple things that actually embody who they were, their
Yeah.
voice, their
Yeah.
style, the things that were important to them. We talked right before this, we talked about jail. I have family members that were in jail, and I have their letters still and their
Yeah.
art and their things in a box somewhere where I'm able to keep it. But why do we have to wait till tragedy strikes in order to have those experiences? I eventually want to start writing. I saw somebody have a journal, like a composition book, where they write back and forth to their child. Like, just whatever you want to write. And when I have time, I read it, and then I write a little message and we pass it back and forth. Those are little things you can do and incorporate into your life
Oh, I
that
love that.
is going to foster stronger relationships. But it also lets you know how you, because sometimes people don't realize how angry they sound or how hurt they might be. Like, you notice it when you take it out of your mind and put it in somewhere visual for you to be able to see it. Then you get down to those patterns. And I love how you said, Jay, I reacted a weird way, and I needed to figure out what was that about. That is what visualization does. And in my presentation, I talked about mind mapping. There's so many different ways to be able to visualize your emotions so that you can connect with them.
So we're coming to the end. Thank you guys so much. But one of the things that we like to do in our sessions, that Joy and I like to do, is end with actionable steps. And so, Jay, I'm going to start with you to give us some actionable steps, because even someone said in there, "How do I get started? What do I do to get started?" So, give the grievers some actionable steps. That's number one. Number two, tell people where they can find you. Let them know that where they can find you. And Jay, when you're done, then Joy, you can talk about your legacy club and give some actionable steps and where they can find you.
Oh, and Jay, somebody asked, how can they buy your art? So let us know about that as well.
All right. Thank you. Actionable steps. So there's, I guess, start off by finding a purpose. That is not an easy thing to do, but that takes a lot of thought. And then start by addressing an emotion. Address something that you've been suppressing and hiding from and avoiding. Now, if you're going to talk about going into art, the way I started, honestly, is that, like I said, I literally went to Michael's, just picked up things that I thought would look cool, and I just let it go. So if you want to do that, buy one of the cheapest canvases, the cheapest paint, whatever is in there, just to give it a try, and just go in there. But go in there with a purpose, and go in there with the mindset that you're trying to grow and get better. That's kind of like the simplest way of taking action. But it takes bravery, because it's not an easy thing to address those emotions that you've been hiding and running from. Where you can reach me, a lot of my work and stuff I put on Instagram. So Tattered Soul Creative on Instagram. I also have a website.
Wait, slow it down. Say it again. Say it again.
Tattered Soul Creative
Awesome.
on Instagram.
Awesome.
And then I have tatteredsoulcreative.com is my website.
Can you put that up for us, please? Brittany? Oh, she's doing it. Okay.
And then tatteredsoulcreative.com is my website. So if you're looking, I have a few pieces up there. A lot of the work I do is through like messaging. So the way that it works for me is I do commission pieces, right? And when I get a client, I ask them these simple things. One, what's an emotion you want portrayed on there? And then I ask them, I was like, what's 3 colors that you want? So that way they're kind of choosing what would fit best in their area, and also what they feel affects that emotion the most. So that's how I do it from there. And that's where you can honestly message me about buying one of my pieces. I could show you my portfolio. If you message me through the website, I'll be able to send you pictures of what I have available still.
I have to ask another question. I know we're running to the end. Why only 3 colors?
There's something about the power of 3 for me. I don't know where it came from or how it always been. I know it's religious based, and it's through God, of me finding my faith and stuff like that. But for 3 colors, the way that it works in my mind, the schematics of moving and piecing together, it's easier for me to manage and easier for me to portray it and getting the details of the way that I want it.
I love it. Jay, thank you so much. Joy and I really want to tell you, man, you've just been a delight and a joy. Okay, Joy, where can people find you, and what is your actionable step?
Well, I do want to say, Jay, it's so hard sometimes to find men to come on this type of platform and to be able to be as authentic and when I say authentic, like you didn't do anything special. You brought yourself. You shared your story. You were able to brainstorm with us different ways to kind of get other people to do what it is that we're doing from a very beginning level until you get to the point where now this is your thing. This is how you process things and cope with things. So I do appreciate you for saying yes. The connection that you and Sharon made, you were our amazing addition to our speaker lineup. So thank you for that. So as far as writing goes, the funny thing is you asked about the journal club. One thing I learned about myself with these retreats is that I work better at focusing on one thing at a time. That goes the same with my writing. I can't when I could do a lot of things at a different time, but I need to like do things in a certain order for me not to feel overwhelmed. So on Celebrate Legacy, the goal is for you to be able to have accessibility to act to the prompts that we come up with. They're not just what's your favorite color, what is what school did you go to? Like me and my aunt, she's a baby boomer. We literally found things that are meaningful that actually get you to reflect. So in a perfect world, on our Instagram story every day there'll be a new prompt, and I have all the prompts, but I have to sit and schedule them, and I put all my attention for life after loss. Then I send weekly emails to your as a newsletter. Just say, hey, answer this question, so that once a week you're able to reflect and write down. Actually take the time to write it down and answer the question. And people think, oh, they might just read the email and go away. But if you actually put a practice into that, imagine a year from now, you've written how many weeks in the year? Like 50, over 50 inserts with different topics. Like in years go by, and if you put that practice, so my advice, your first question is how to get started. Be extremely intentional. Figure out what time of day you want to do it and do it the same time every day. If you want to do it as soon as you wake up, if you decide you want to wake up 15 minutes earlier than you usually do, and you get up, you organize your thoughts, brush your teeth, and you sit down and write for 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be all day. Just 10 minutes, and then you go on about your day. That is building a healthy writing habit to get you. Another thing is make it very convenient. Find something that you could carry with you if you're a woman, your purse or in your car, somewhere where you get an idea or you get inspired or you get some downtime. Sometimes I keep some journal papers in my desk at work. So when things kind of slow down, I could pull out my journal pages and just write some things down. But once you make it convenient for you, and then nothing is more convenient than this phone that we keep right,
Yes.
as an extension of our body. Having a note in your phone where you just go in there, but what's gonna make it? Because you go in there and you think you're gonna write, and then you go on Facebook and then you start playing Candy Crush, and you start getting distracted. I recommend pen to paper and having an actual place to do it. But if you know that that's not your thing, set a timer in your phone, and that time is when you stop and write. You don't do anything else. You don't get distracted. You don't start going down a rabbit hole or something else. You take that time that you set on your timer to randomly write whatever you're feeling, what you're going through, whatever it is that you want to capture at that time. So the Celebrate Legacy Journal Club is going to launch in October. I'm offering it to legacy level, but you guys, if you decide not to upgrade, it's going to be a $9 a month membership. Very affordable for you to be able to come in. You have someone who is teaching you different techniques on how to find your voice, how to write, how to express yourself. But then you have these legacy driven prompts. Each month has a theme. I have somebody who lives in Australia who like looks forward to the theme, and the September theme has not been released because all I've been thinking about is life after loss. So I'm going to mail her a journal all the way to Australia because I just appreciate her for like holding me accountable for something. I did it every month this whole year. In September, I dropped the ball because I just was too busy. I learned that about myself, is that I just have to focus on one thing at a time. So give yourself grace. I heard somebody say they want to be perfect. Like, even if you write, don't throw everything away, but you don't have to keep it. If you just want to write it down and then ball it up and throw it away, it's not a waste. You still release that out of your body, out of your mind. That's still meaningful. But then instead of you getting nervous about if somebody's going to read it, just put it away. Put it somewhere like in a box under your bed that nobody's going to go into, and you'll be surprised years later you come back and read it and you reconnect to that version of you.
Yeah. So thank you again, Jay. You have been absolutely amazing and a delight. Joy, thank you for sharing your journal club. I think it's going to be so magnificent. So we are done with our one-on-one interviews for the day, and they have been, man, life altering and changing. To every griever that showed up, we see you. Thank you so, so much for being here. Thank you for your comments. You don't realize what your comments do to us. They really keep us going. They motivate the conversation. And then we know what you guys are looking for, what you really want to talk about. Like, I missed this one. Kim wanted to know about the neatness of the handwriting. So I just love, love, love that you guys are engaging. Tonight we come back at 7:00 Eastern time.
No,
Correct?
you're
No,
right.
8:00. 7:00 Central Standard Time, 8:00 Eastern Time, and we're doing our first taboo talk, which is going to be really great. The things that no one wants to talk about, the things that we can't talk about in our grief, and that taboo talk is for anyone who is upgraded to the legacy level. So it will be on Zoom. You get a private invite. If you guys haven't upgraded yet, but you love what you're seeing here, please do upgrade so we can see you all in the taboo talk tonight.